There is something quietly devastating about loving someone and still feeling completely alone. You have been there, haven't you? Perhaps you are there right now. You sit across from someone you chose, someone you wanted so desperately it felt like a hunger you couldn't name, and yet something inside you remains untouched, unseen, unreached. The warmth is real. The moments are real. And still, underneath all of it, there is a hollow ache that doesn't go away no matter how close you press yourself to another person. You told yourself it would pass. You told yourself that when the relationship became more serious, more committed, more intimate, the emptiness would finally fill. But it didn't. And what frightens you most isn't the emptiness itself. What frightens you is the creeping suspicion that something is wrong with you, that other people don't feel this way, that everyone else has figured out something about love that you somehow missed. Nothing is wrong with you. You are simply one of the few people honest enough to feel what everyone else spends their entire lives trying not to notice. Here is what almost no one will tell you. Love as you have been taught. To understand it was never designed to make you happy. It was designed to use you. And the moment you understand what Arthur Schopenhauer discovered about desire more than 2 centuries ago, you will never look at love, longing, or another human being the same way again. This is not a pessimistic statement. This is the most liberating truth you will ever encounter about the nature of wanting, because the pain you feel inside love is not a malfunction. It is the system working exactly as intended, and once you see the machinery clearly, you gain something the machinery never wanted you to have, which is the freedom to choose how you respond to it. Schopenhauer built his entire philosophy around one central and radical idea. Beneath every thought, every emotion, every rational decision, every gentle touch and desperate craving, there is a blind and relentless force he called the will. Not your will, not my will. Not the will of any individual person who decides what they want for lunch or who they want to spend their life with. The will is something far older, far more indifferent, and far more powerful than any individual human consciousness. It is the force that drives the roots of a tree through stone, the force that makes a dying animal fight with everything it has, the force that pulls you toward another person with an intensity that feels, in those early moments, like destiny itself. The will does not care about you. It does not know your name. It has no interest, in your happiness, your fulfillment, your growth, or your peace. It has only one function, which is to perpetuate itself, and it uses your desire, your longing, your love, as its most sophisticated and invisible instrument. When you fall in love, you experience what Schopenhauer described as one of the will's most elaborate illusions, the feeling of inevitability, the sense that this person was made for you, the conviction that something greater than chance brought you together. All of this is the will speaking through your nervous system in the language of longing. What you experience as a profound personal choice is actually a biological and metaphysical process, selecting through you, not for you. You are not choosing a partner. The will is selecting a vehicle for its own continuation, and it dresses that selection in the costume of romance, chemistry, and fate, so that you cooperate, willingly and without resistance. Schopenhauer was not cruel in observing this. He was honest in a world that preferred comfortable lies, and his honesty, though it stings, is the beginning of something genuinely important. Consider the arc of almost every romantic relationship you have witnessed or lived. There is the beginning, that period of almost unbearable aliveness, when the other person seems to illuminate everything, when your senses are heightened, when the future feels open and luminous and full of meaning. Then, gradually, the light changes. The intensity softens. The person who once seemed like the answer to everything slowly reveals themselves to be simply another person, full of the same contradictions, the same limitations, the same recurring patterns you have seen everywhere else, including in yourself. And what follows, for most people, is not wisdom, but disappointment dressed as disillusionment, followed by either the search for a new vessel to fill the old longing, or a quiet resignation that tells itself the name of contentment. Schopenhauer saw this cycle not as a personal failure, but as the inevitable structure of desire itself. Desire, once satisfied, either dissolves into boredom or immediately transforms into a new desire. There is no arrival. There is only the endless motion of wanting. The pendulum metaphor Schopenhauer offered is perhaps his most quietly devastating contribution to the philosophy of human experience. He wrote that, "Life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. When you lack what you want, you suffer. When you get what you want, the wanting dissolves, and you are left with a strange, flat feeling that has no name, but feels very much like loss. This is what you felt after the first months of a relationship settled into routine. This is what you felt after the person you had idealized finally became familiar. The wanting, which had felt like aliveness itself, disappeared, and in its place came something quieter and harder to bear than outright pain, which is the dull recognition that the thing you wanted was never really what you thought it was. There is something that needs to be asked of you directly right now, something that comes from a place of genuine care and not judgment. Have you ever loved someone with everything you had, given them your vulnerability, your time, your full attention, and still walked away feeling like something fundamental had gone unmet? Have you spent years wondering whether you are simply incapable of the kind of love you see others claim to have, or whether love itself is something you have somehow misunderstood your entire life? If you carry that weight, if that question lives somewhere behind your eyes when you lie awake at night, write in the comments right now. I gave everything and still felt empty. You are not alone in this. There are thousands of people watching this right now who have never said those words out loud, who have carried that feeling like a private shame, and seeing your words might be the first time they feel understood. Your honesty is not weakness. It is a gift to everyone here who is still too afraid to say it first. Schopenhauer did not stop at diagnosis. What makes his philosophy genuinely transformative rather than merely devastating is what he offered beyond the recognition of suffering. And it begins with a distinction that most people never make because they are too busy searching for the next relationship to notice. He drew a profound line between ordinary love, which he saw as the will's instrument, and compassion, which he called Mitleid in German, meaning literally the sharing of suffering. Compassion for Schopenhauer was not sentiment. It was not a warm feeling or a generous impulse. It was the only genuine ethical force in human life, and it arose not from desire, but from the piercing recognition that the other person's pain is not separate from your own. When you look at another human being and truly see their suffering as something you understand from the inside, not because it benefits you to see it, but because the veil between self and other briefly becomes transparent, you are experiencing what Schopenhauer considered the closest thing to genuine love that human beings are capable of. And it is radically different from romantic longing, because it asks nothing in return. This is the recontextualization that changes everything said before this moment. The love that hurts you, the love that leaves you feeling empty despite its intensity, is not love at its deepest level. It is desire wearing love's face, and desire, as the will's primary instrument, is constitutionally incapable of delivering what you actually need, which is not possession of another person, but recognition by them. True recognition, the kind that dissolves loneliness at its root, cannot come from someone who is also caught in their own desire, also performing their own version of love, also waiting to be seen. It can only come from a quality of attention that has, at least temporarily, stepped outside of wanting. Schopenhauer found this quality most reliably in art, in music especially, which he considered the most direct expression of the will itself rather than a representation of it, and in moments of pure aesthetic contemplation where the self goes quiet and something larger becomes briefly visible. When you stand before a piece of music that breaks you open without warning, when a melody reaches something in you that words have never been able to touch, you are experiencing what Schopenhauer described as the temporary suspension of the will's grip on consciousness. In that moment, you are not a person who wants something. You're not lonely or fulfilled, not striving or despairing. You simply are, and the world simply is, and between you and it, there is no desire to mediate the encounter. He considered these moments the closest available approximation to freedom within human life, not because they last, but because they reveal that the suffering of desire is not the whole of what you are. Beneath the wanting, beneath the longing for love that finally stays, beneath the exhaustion of giving yourself to relationships that leave you hollow, there is a dimension of you that is already whole, already still, already beyond the pendulum's reach. You cannot live there permanently, but you can visit it, and each visit changes, in some small and irreversible way, how completely the will owns you. The highest possibility Schopenhauer pointed toward was what he called the denial of the will, a state not of self-destruction or nihilism, but of radical disengagement from the machinery of craving. The ascetic, the saint, the artist in their deepest creative absorption, all were, for Schopenhauer, partial embodiments of this possibility. He was not asking anyone to stop loving. He was inviting something far more difficult and far more honest, which is to love without needing the love to complete you, to give without needing the giving to be witnessed, to remain present with another person without making their presence the condition of your peace. This is not emotional coldness, it is emotional maturity of an order so rare that most people mistake it for detachment. It is the difference between clinging to someone because the alternative is the feeling of your own emptiness, and choosing someone every day from a place of genuine fullness that has nothing to prove and nothing to fill. What Schopenhauer ultimately offers about love is not a reason to stop loving, but a reason to love differently, more honestly, more gently, with fewer illusions about what love can deliver, and more gratitude for what it actually is. The moments of genuine recognition between two people, the instances where the will grows quiet enough for two human beings to actually see each other rather than see their own desires reflected back, those moments are real. They are not the whole of love as it is usually practiced, but they are its most essential core. And they become more possible, not less, when you stop demanding that love rescue you from the condition of being alive. If this has reached something in you that you have been carrying quietly for a long time, please give this video a like. Not because it costs you nothing, which it does, but because the algorithm uses that signal to bring this kind of content to someone else who is lying awake right now, feeling exactly what you felt at the beginning of this video, and has never once encountered a philosophy that told them the truth about it. One small gesture from you could be the reason someone else finally feels understood. And if you are someone who wants to keep walking this path, who wants philosophy that doesn't flinch from the weight of being human, but also never leaves you without a lantern, then subscribe to this channel. Every video here is made for the person who feels too much, thinks too deeply, and has never quite found a space that holds both of those things without asking you to shrink. You belong here, and there is so much more waiting for you.